Hi, this is John Delancey, and you are listening to the Geekcast Radio Network.
Hello and welcome to Altered Geek Unlimited, episode 77. I'm your host, Steve Megatron Phillips, and joining me again this week is...
Steve, Jim, and Mike.
Mike the Birdman Dodd, whose mouth is on freaking fire right now.
Let me ask you...
Ow! And my wife is calling me a pussy. Happy Valentine's Day to you, two fuckers.
Let me ask you, have you guys seen The Flash this week?
No, not yet.
Well, this isn't a spoiler for what happens in the episode, but there's a really funny moment in it where he eats one of the hottest peppers in the world, like would kill a normal person. So,
like a ghost pepper sort of thing?
Something like that. Yeah,
it's supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So you bitching about your hot wings is nothing.
Oh my god! You know what? One of the worst things someone ever did to me is they fed me. It was either a ghost pepper based barbecue sauce, or I can't remember the name of this pepper. But either way, luckily my friend ran a restaurant at the time, and I could just run to the back freezer. So he's like, "Hey Mike, try this thing." So he gives me a big friggin' spoonful of it. It burned so bad, so I threw up. Which is obviously the gross part of the story. But then I stuck my head in the ice cream freezer and just started licking everything I could. Thankfully, he was very nice to me and just let me, we're going to get new stuff anyway. But, oh my god, that burned so bad. I couldn't touch hot stuff for like a year and a half after that. Oh,
that just
memories.
Sounds horrid.
Oh my god. It was pain and despair. Kind of tasty, but still pain and despair.
Wow.
Yeah! How you doing?
Alrighty, so what have you guys been doing this week?
Nothing but playing video games. I've actually just finished reviewing the game Dying Light for the Xbox One and the PS4. This is a game that originally really pissed me off, because I'm like, oh, look, a zombie game. And admittedly, it's that. But it's like Dead Island meets Mirror's Edge with a little bit of Dead Rising. And it gets retarded fun when you get the grappling hook. You become Batman with a friggin' machete. And it's ludicrous amounts of fun as you just pretty much dance on zombies' heads while jumping across rooftops. It's really kind of sick. Been playing the game Evolve 2, which is pretty kick-ass. And trying to think what else I did. Been watching all the Friday the 13th movies, because, well, guess what today is? Just because we're going to talk about that, kind of, a little later on in the show, but, that's sort of my way to get in the holiday spirit, I guess, even though it's Valentine's Day weekend. Man, I've got my priorities all sorts of fucked up. Moving on. Who's next?
Well, I guess it took Star Wars for me to actually read Marvel Comics. I'm one of these people that, and I know Marvel isn't like this now, but, you grab an issue of whatever it is, and it's like, oh, so I have to read all these other issues first to catch up. And now that Marvel has the Star Wars license back, I've really been interested to see what they're going to do with the new ongoing series. And they also have, I don't know if the Darth Vader series is going to be a mini-series or if it's going to be a full-on ongoing. I know the Princess Leia series coming next month is going to be a 5-issue mini. But that Darth Vader #1 was damn awesome. The art is amazing in that book.
I've heard a lot of really good things about that. And you know what? I don't disagree with you when it comes to the whole Marvel thing. Like, I hope you know the last 10 years of continuity. when it comes to stuff. It's so hard to get into Marvel books. But now, I guess, with Secret War or whatever, maybe it'll be easier when everything reboots. I doubt it. But yeah, like the new Star Wars stuff, I think it's going to be halfway legit. I'm tempted to get into it, but at the same time, I already pull a significant number of books at my comic book store. My long boxes grow that I haven't read yet, so I'm kind of leery about it. Maybe I'll just buy them digitally.
That's this thing, Mike. Is like I said last week, you need to go digital just on a couple of titles, not on everything. You don't need to go all in. But I've
actually been thinking about taking your advice because me and my wife, we want to get a new iPad at some point this year because my first gen one I got as a wedding gift from Spada has finally bit the dust. So I'm thinking maybe it's time I take that leap. And if I'm only buying, say, $20 worth of books a month, big deal. Or there's that one subscription service where it's like the Netflix for comic books.
It's Netflix for Marvel, actually.
Yeah, so I'm thinking, you know what? That may be kind of worth it for me.
Even if
there's so many stories that I want to read and just haven't.
How many times a month do you go to the comic shop and actually buy something? Like, actually buy a book?
Probably about twice a month, like, because my guy's really cool. The guy I record Beyond the Gauntlet with, Chris, I typically go, like, the beginning of the month and right towards the end of the month.
Well, so far
I usually wait a few weeks for all my books to pile up.
Right. So far as I can tell, Darth Vader is it's twice a month at this point. What I would suggest, and I don't know if this happens up there, but what I suggest you do is have him hold them for you, and then instead of, like, when you go to pick your books up, instead of sitting there and reading the print versions, just Marvel includes a free digital copy in almost all the books they do.
That's true.
So that way you're helping your local comic shop and spending the $3.99, and you're still getting a free digital copy that you can still look at on a new iPad or whatever, instead of just spending the $4 online.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because I think you may have a point. Like, I think I'm gonna have to move digital for everything except ponies now. I really think maybe ponies and maybe Ghostbusters I'll keep print.
Well, Ghostbusters is ending, but yeah.
Damn it. I don't know, because it's one of those things I've been kind of holding off about it for years because I don't want to lose my passwords and just forget, like, oh, I've got this huge comic book collection, but now I can't get access to it. But I guess I could say that about all my movies I have stored in the cloud anyway, so I don't know. It may be about that time. Maybe there'll be a sale towards the end of the spring. I can grab a new iPad for, like, next to nothing.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, although, very briefly, you guys asked what I did this week. I think I've reached that point in my life where I've become the crazy old man, where I literally sit at my computer and enter nothing but contests. So if you've been watching my Twitter and Facebook over the last, 3 days, it's been nothing but contest links.
As Tim Allen would say, you sad, strange little man.
Oh my god, it's really freaking weird because I'm thinking, you know what? I won a trip to Vegas. I won an Xbox One. What else can I do? So I've entered everything from getting free lip chat to trips to Bali. So I've figured, you know what? Out of the 10 million entries I've done, I'm bound to hit pay dirt on one of them. I am a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity.
Yeah.
Up.
Oh, damn.
I like just derailing the conversations where you guys are in the stunned, stupefied silence.
That's what Canadians do to us.
I can feel the expressions on your faces from here.
Yeah.
I would hope that you wouldn't reach out and touch them.
Oh, I'm not. That's not all I'm touching.
No, this is not an AT&T commercial. Thank you.
You made me this way.
Shut up, you monster. What else have I been doing? I have a stack of CDs to go through for La La Land Records that I haven't written reviews yet of, so I got to do that. And just prepping for the GCRN Awards reveal stuff, so That's pretty much all I've been doing. What about you, Steve?
Well, I compiled the awards list.
Mm-hmm.
Quite interesting, to say the least, of what was chosen. Honestly, didn't see some of what came up happening. Some of the things I wasn't sure until I saw it in the total count. There's quite a few. There's no blowouts, but there's quite a few massively ahead of other things. To the point that the lowest number voted on something was once. Actually, there might have been a couple that didn't have any, but I don't think so. And then there's a couple that are within like one of losing to another one. It's quite interesting too. Again, like I said, some of them surprised me. Some of them it was a popularity contest, so I wasn't surprised in the slightest. I can't wait to get that done, like just so that I can see reactions afterward. Because for once, we didn't choose anything.
Well,
I mean,
we all of the core staff did fill out the form.
Well, yeah, we all voted like everyone else.
Right, yeah.
So it was interesting, to say the least. And again, some of the things came up in multiple categories, especially in TV and film. It was so interesting to check that. It puts me at a loss of words by some of them. Like one of them, it somehow walked away with 54 votes, like in one of them, which I think is the highest of any of the categories.
Wow.
It was in film, that's all I'm saying. Oh, no, wrong. There's one that's at 55. It's in a different category. But yeah, I can't wait to reveal that just to see reactions. So I did that. Again, doing the acting class, so having to learn lines and for the script, and pretty much have the acting down. It's the learning the lines. It's going to be the pain in the ass for me, because they're like, if it were in a chapter book, you're talking a 3 or 4 page span of lines back and forth between two characters, and I'm one of them. So the dialogue is I feel bad for the other guy because he's definitely got more dialogue than I would.
Right.
But I still have way too much to remember too for my brain to comprehend at times. So I'm hoping that I don't botch that when it comes time. So yeah, I've done that. Trying to think what else. At work, they're coming up for a test from, has to do, it's a money thing, but they're being evaluated for something they were told about 3 months ago, 4 months ago, and it's a new program. It has to do with incentives and stuff, and I'm not sure how well that's going to pan out tomorrow when the guys are there for 3 hours doing the evaluation, because I'm trying to word this as eloquently as possible to not get in any kind of trouble, but
is it like the two Bobs from Office Space?
It's been a while since I've seen that, so I don't remember, but the reference.
The two Bobs were the consultants that came in to see job performance and who can be, promoted and who can be basically...
No, this is different. This
okay.
is to determine whether they're following up and doing their proper procedure.
Okay.
Something that nobody there knows how to do. So we're going to wing it and see what happens. That's literally what's going to happen. I await the sadness afterwards. So yeah, there's that. I've been playing the 2DS with Super Smash Brothers.
I need to unlock my characters on my new 3DS XL again because it didn't transfer over my data, and then you and I will have to play.
Yes.
I will bitch slap you, but we will have to play.
We'll see.
My Mega Man is top tier, man. I used to play competitive. I will fuck your day up.
Who are you really good with?
I'm good with Mega Man. I'm pretty good with Pit.
I will kick your ass with Sonic.
With Sonic.
I will kick your ass. Dude, I play it on the Wii, and I crank them up to level 9. And I play people online with it, or I did before they crapped out on that, as Sonic, and I stomped everybody's ass.
You should have been playing in tournaments, man. Get some
yeah,
money.
that would require me to actually pay money and leave home.
Hey, man. Well, there used to be this place I used to work in Hamilton, Ontario, this game center called Pones. You pay a $20 entry fee, you could walk out with $2,000 by the end of the night if you were good. Prize pools, man.
And I also play my brothers at it, which have played Smash Brothers with me in the past, and I used to play as Samus, but they nerfed the character in Brawl.
Yeah, I really liked her in Brawl, but I hated when I used my like Final Smash because I hate Zero Suit Samus.
I actually like Zero Suit because it puts. The only reason there's only one reason I like her for that is because you get the Electro Zap thing that with the whip.
Grab, right?
But the thing is her moves are okay, but she gets the speed that Samus in the suit had in Melee.
Yeah.
Which in Brawl, like, she's super slow in the suit. Which is why I switched to Sonic. Because I used to play really well with Samus, and I'd kind of play a waiting game. Now with Sonic, I kind of get into the thick of it, and purposely try and see if I can get my ass kicked.
Now, here's a question. Are you doing the Amiibo thing yet?
No. Does it do that on the 2DS?
You can, when the adapter's released, I imagine you should be able to. My friends who work at Walmart this past week were able to snag me some of the super rare ones for the Amiibos. I'm pretty sure these things are worse than cocaine because I'm going to ridiculous lengths to get them. This week, actually, for those of you that don't know, Target in Canada is going out of business, so they're liquidating everything, which sucks because Target had this exclusive Amiibo called Rosalina. Now, our online retailers like Best Buy, Future Shop, and Walmart got limited quantities of them. So late last week, I think it was, I sat online because Future Shop said the announcement was like, we're going to release a limited amount of these things online at this time. First come, first serve, right? For the whole of Canada, they had 57. I managed to score one of them. They sold out in about 12 seconds. Couldn't believe it. And my thing just shipped. I think it shipped today or yesterday, so I should have them like tomorrow. But Smash has done horrible things for my wallet because I missed out most on the first wave of Amiibo, so now I'm trying to play catch up. The only one I don't have right now out of the newer wave is I don't have Meta Knight, and I loved him. My God, he was so top tier in Brawl. Actually, I think he was in a tier all by himself because all his moves out prioritized everybody else.
He was pretty hardcore in Brawl.
Oh my God! Like if you watch any of the old matches from like Apex or Evo, Meta Knight matches were fun as hell to watch. That or Diddy Kong matches were really fun. But yeah, like right now I'm sitting beside my Amiibos right beside me, and the ones I got this week were super hardcore. I got Ike, and I got King DDD, and you would not believe how heavy King DDD is. Like that Amiibo, like I'm pretty sure if I were to hit someone in the face with this thing, I could make them chip a tooth. This thing is like a solid hunk of friggin' plastic. But yeah, seriously though, get when the adapter's announced, which it likely will be before E3, you can transfer your data from your amiibo. Let's say you have it on the Wii U, it can move over to it can be moved over to your 2DS as well. So no, they are fun for $15 a piece. They are actually pretty kick-ass, and the secondary scalper market is ridiculous. Some of these things will go for over $100.
That's retarded.
People are douchebags because they like went out and scalped Marth, the Villager, and the Wii Fit trainer. Now they're scalping Little Mac, Pit, and Captain Falcon. And now Mega Man and Sonic will be super rare too. The only reason I got mine is because I pre-ordered right time, right place. And people are dicks. like seriously, I cannot believe how much money people are making off these things. Like right now, a Rosalina, $15 figure, right? People are paying $60 for her.
Yeah, I'd pass.
Jesus, man. Like I said, I got lucky at $15, only because I kept pressing F5 for an hour and a friggin' half. Clearly a first world problem. But anyway. So, where do we go next?
Okay. So yeah. They just a couple light announcements. I'm actually going to gloss over a few. The Gotham trailer for next week.
It's a red herring. It's got to be. I think they said that from the get-go. They were going to do it, but it's not going to be a definitive origin. Please, God, no, don't let this be definitive.
I can't believe the show got picked up for a second season. I mean, I don't dislike Gotham, but it just...
It's been inconsistent since it's come back.
It's moving way too damn slow for me. And I don't mean it's moving slow as in like Breaking Bad was moving slow. I mean, they are trying too hard to tie in all this Batman stuff at the same time tell a decent story within the show's universe.
I think at this point they're playing a cop procedural, trying to hit the notes of Batman without having Batman, which means you're seeing all these villains' parents in some cases, and then at the same time they're also trying to. It's like they're shoving the rest of them down our throat now at this point to try and get ratings.
Yeah. Have you guys seen this week's episode?
Scarecrow?
Yeah.
Yes.
I've only seen bits and pieces.
Did you see the piece where Nigma and Penguin are together?
Buttheads.
No, I didn't see that part.
They did that in the police station, and
it was in the promo for it from last week, but there wasn't that much in the promo. There's not much in it. It's basically them it's basically the camera showing the two of them staring each other down, and it's interesting. I honestly, at this point, Nigma's too damn creepy for me to even... I mean, we all know he's going to become the Riddler, but I wish
I think he'll straighten out. It's just he's... Right now, he's that awkward, like, extremely awkward, like OCD, so they see him as creepy, whereas once he goes full Riddler, it's all bets are off.
I think that's my point here. I want them to hurry up and have him do that already. Like, Penguin is... Okay... Let's face it, this version of Penguin is not like any other version on film or comic that we've ever seen or animation.
Which I like this version.
No, I mean, I like him, but I'm saying, like, he is pretty much the Penguin at this point. Sure, he doesn't do all the cheesy umbrella jokes that Burgess Meredith used to do in the 60s Batman show, but that's what I want from Nigma at this point. I want him to go full Riddler, and I actually wanted them to team up. Find some common thing the two of them could team up for and just go at it instead of just dragging the Nigma story out.
I think it's too soon to turn him Riddler, though. I mean, this way, if you have him fall from grace, you build up a little sympathy for the character. and when he finally snaps, it'll be a big moment in the show.
Mm.
But maybe they should be hustling it a little bit faster, or give it a bit more weight.
Yeah.
As opposed to dragging it out right now. I mean, have a few small things happen, and then drop a bomb on us for like a season finale or something.
And sadly, I don't think that's... I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, but I think part of the thing, too, is that a lot of this... in order for this to happen, Bruce is going to have to age.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing, too. If they were to advance the story, like maybe at the end of this season, the story advances 5 years or something.
Yeah.
That's a possibility. But the thing is, the kid that plays Bruce is really good.
Yeah, he is.
I don't want to lose him. He's really decent.
But if it takes 10 years to get there...
Yeah, that's true. Like, I don't think they had a long-term plan for this show in mind.
No, they... Well, hell,
Like,
the
they
show...
had, okay, here's our mini-series. Oh, shit, season 2, now what?
Well, originally the show was at 21 or 22 episodes, then it got cut back to 17, and then they added back into whatever the current number is for the first season. And now it's got picked up for a second season. My worry is, and I know that they're going to continue to do all the storylines that they're currently doing, the Fish Mooney thing, the Carmine Falcone thing, all that stuff. I know they're going to not drop that immediately. My worry is once they introduce who they're going to introduce next week, all bets are off, and it's pretty much going to be all about the Joker.
Well,
I think it's a mistake to even bring him in this early, at least, and especially as a kid. I think he should have been like, an 18-year-old that, that they maybe introduced that's kind of down on his luck, and then, gotten involved with the Red Hood gang, which this may be very well it. I mean, that they pull next week, too. I don't know. Because they did say they are going to bring in the Red Hood gang, but I'm not quite sure where it's going to go from there, and I don't really like the idea of them introducing him as a nut job this early on without having some psychological damage from whatever.
Yeah. Like, show him damaged but not broken.
He's he should be broken after he hits the chemical pit.
Yeah.
And I mean, they may drop him in there very soon. I mean, because in the same teaser, Bruce mentions the Arkham thing and then the chemical plant. So it may actually hit that realm. But speaking of Batman, and on a lighter note, DC Collectibles brought out that information about the new Batmobile and the other Batman the Animated Series figures.
My poor wallet.
That's what you say all the time.
It's true, and I'm thinking, who do I know to get these things for free? But at the same time, these things are huge. I don't know where the hell I'd even put them.
The figures aren't really that big. I mean, they are, but they're not. I have the New Adventures Batman, which my brother got for me, and I'm going to end up getting the animated series version as well to go along with it. I probably I want to get the Joker and the Riddler, but at the same time I already have the same toy in the smaller version, and it's not that big of a difference to me.
Yeah.
Whereas the Batman ones, it's more of a big deal. So I'll probably get that one, and I really want that Batmobile because I was itching to get the smaller one that fit the original 4-inch figure that came out back in the early 90s. But I didn't want to buy a used one of that. I didn't have the money to spend on a new one. And this, you can get it from BBTS for $84 pre-order. But at the same time, I don't know where the hell I would put this almost 1.5 foot long or 2 foot long Batmobile. Because I think it's supposed to be 24 inches long.
Oh, wow, it's that big? I didn't think it was that big.
I think that's what I read. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I read. I'm quite excited, that's all I know. So yeah, I'd love to get my hands on it. I just don't know how plausible it is.
These are the DC collectible stuff, right? Yeah, they've been doing.
Phantasm looks pretty freaking badass, though.
Yeah, they've been doing.
I want to get the Phantasm too. Yeah, it is 24 inches long, the Batmobile. I may end up.
That Bane looks kind of stupid.
What's that?
I said, though, that Bane looks kind of stupid.
Yeah, it's from the New Adventures. Same thing with Scarecrow. I don't like that version. The Mad Hatter, I could give two shits less. Nightwing, I think is kind of cool, but again, it's the same as the other figure. And then you have, your various other, DC collectibles in there too. But I'm definitely, I want the Phantasm one too, but I'm more apt to just buy the Batman.
So with this Batmobile being this size, and
you can fit these figures in them,
right? And well, what I was saying was like, I'm wondering, and I don't think this will ever happen since most of the stuff that the company that I'm going to mention does is mostly movie stuff itself. But I'm wondering if they'll ever do a Hot Toys version of the BTAS Batmobile.
I don't know whether that would work, but that'd be interesting. Actually, speaking of Hot Toys, did you guys see Ultron Prime this week?
Yeah.
Yes.
Holy shit, if I started a Hot Toys collection, it would start there. That's such a gorgeous figure. Oh my god. I actually sat in my office here and I'm thinking, okay, I'm looking at my video game shelf. What can I sell? Because that thing looks so friggin' cool. And I really want to have Ultron, like, stepping on Captain America's chest or something.
Crushing his throat.
Yeah, it's just like, no strings on me, motherfucker. Like, it looks so cool. And, like, that, or I want to see the Ultron drones. Like they've got torsos, but they haven't released a full drone yet. But still, that thing looks friggin' sick.
Yeah, it does.
Hot Toys, why do you torture me so?
If I was going to start a Hot Toys collection, it probably would start and end with the 1989 Batmobile.
Although, they did a really wicked RoboCop a couple years ago, and, like, anything Hot Toys at Iron Man looks phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I know there's a Hot Toys Hulkbuster, but I don't own, the Moon, so I can't afford it. But seriously, man, that toy company, they have a license to print money. Like,
pretty much, yeah.
There was something I saw this week, and I can't remember where it was, but it was a picture of their Russell Crowe Man of Steel figure, Jor-El, and I really thought it was a picture of Russell Crowe. And then I'm like, oh, that's the toy. I'm thinking, holy shit. At a glance, these things can fool you. My God, they got such talented sculptors over there, man. Like, seriously, that's... I don't know, someday I intend to own at least a few Hot Toys.
Toys today are so much cooler than we were kids.
Oh, yeah, but the thing is, if we had these toys as kids, I can't imagine going total rough and tumble with them. Because I see some of like the Hot Toys Terminator figures, and I'm thinking, man, if I were to break one of the accessories, I think I'd cry.
Yeah.
But they do look so bad. I mean, if you had a really nice display room for these figures and you put them in those IKEA like glass cabinets where you can't get dust on them and shit,
yeah,
you set these things up in really cool dioramas, man. You could have, like, the ultimate thing. Like, you could almost make a stop-motion movie Avengers with these. And I'm surprised someone hasn't done that on some scale.
I think kids today have it really, really bad as far
as
their
toys kind of suck.
Well, no. It's not that. It's not about the quality of the toys. It's about the fact, can you find them? Because, let's face it, we live in a world where collecting is key for a lot of people our age or older, and
people like us that pick
so what you're saying is we're the assholes.
Pretty much, yeah.
We're the
Pretty
ones
much.
buying the toys, so these kids can't have them.
Well, all right. Look, I haven't gone in a toy aisle in a very long time. I was at
I
Walmart.
go in all the time. I have an excuse. I have a child.
Well, yeah, but
I've got Amazon. Screw going outside.
that's usually how I feel, but sometimes I have to go to Walmart. So I'm in Walmart the other day, and we were down by the lawn and garden stuff looking at something, and I went up to the toy aisle because I hadn't been in a toy aisle in, God, at least 2 years. And I'm walking down this aisle, and I'm like, where are all the action figures? There's, like, nothing here. It wasn't that the shelves were empty, but it was, like, a bunch of weird things that I never even heard of before. The only thing I noticed was all of the Nick Turtle stuff, because they had the new... they're not cloth figures, but they're whatever the new design is on the Nick Turtles that they had in that episode a couple weeks ago, where they were wearing cloths and I don't know, it's some sort
Mystic
of
Turtles or whatever.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, they had pretty much all the Mystic Turtles. They had the Turtle Blimp and a bunch of other stuff. That was the only thing in the action figure aisle that I recognized.
Wow.
Everything else I did not recognize at all. I didn't see any Marvel. I didn't see any DC. I didn't see any Transformers. I saw nothing that I recognize, and it's like, wow, I'm glad I don't
weird.
collect.
Like, with that, it seems to me you only get that influx of stuff during movie years. I imagine you'll see more Marvel stuff probably closer to Age of Ultron. Although I know stuff is out on shelves right now. Though it's harder to find. Which makes no sense. But yeah, like, the Nick Turtle stuff, it's hard to find some of the shorter packed figures. It took me the better part of a year to find an April. Even then, I had to go to the gray market, and finding an on-the-peg shredder proved near impossible. I got lucky when I found him. Because people like us are douchebags. Because we leave, like, well, when I used to collect Star Wars figures, for example, this is a really bad example, I knew the case assortments. So I knew exactly what I wanted because I knew exactly what was in the case. And kids would miss out on some really cool figures because of people like me who army build. Because I used to buy almost exclusively clone troopers. And you'd end up on a shelf full of like 40 Moss Amitas or Bail Organas, as opposed to I've got Django Fett's, I got all the Bomas and everything else. And the kids are left with these assholes that are on screen for 3 seconds. People like me that fuck it up.
I know there are collectors out there, or there are people out there that do YouTube videos, and I'm not talking about any of my friends that do YouTube videos at all, but there are some people on YouTube that will run out to every single toy store in their town, no matter what town it is, and if they have the money, they'll buy everything that's brand new, go home, do their YouTube video reviews, and then sell it on eBay for God knows how much more than what it's actually worth. I actually just saw on Facebook tonight, as we're doing this podcast, my buddy Ben B on Facebook, he posted, "Dear third-party Amazon sellers, stop hiking up the prices. No one is going to pay more than $10 for a Playmates toy."
I don't know. Depending on the figure, I would go out of my way for certain ones.
Well, right, but I mean, he's speaking in general about just a standard figure, not anything that's short packed or anything. Just a regular released figure.
Although, speaking of the Nick Turtle things, you should pick up the new Turtle van. It's really fucking cool. Playmates sent me one about a week ago, and it's so nice. Like, it's pretty much the same build as the movie Turtle van that we got this past summer, but it's got a lot of improvements in it. It's a really nice vehicle. If kids get anything today, they have nicer vehicles. But I'd argue we had cooler play sets.
True.
They just don't have play sets now.
Yeah, it's rare. Like, I think one of the coolest play sets I ever saw as a kid, outside of, the flag, was probably the Cobra Terradrome. The sewer playset I thought was really well done, and the Technodrome.
That was the cat's ass back then.
It broke my heart to sell those. This past year, I sold my Turtle playset and my Technodrome, and those things I think were marvels for toys because they had such good playability, and they looked cool, and they functioned. They were kind of in scale with each other. The fact that you could connect the Turtle playset to the Technodrome via that sewer pipe, I always thought was really freaking sweet.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Ghostbusters Firehouse, I thought, was a nice playset. It didn't do a lot, but it added a lot of imagination factor to your thing. There was one playset I think it was produced, but in very, very small numbers. It was the Filmation Ghostbusters playhouse, where it had like the working ghost elevator. It had like I think it had sounds. It had like a place for that stupid bat guy to live. Had like extra ghost equipment, and it could house the car in the garage. And the car for the Filmation Ghostbusters series is like something I'd love to own, because that thing could transform into the sub, the jet, and the car. And it was all in vehicle. You didn't have to take parts on or off. It would just fold out and transform. It was so sick.
The other awesome play sets we had in the 80s, Castle Grayskull, Snake Mountain, Boulder
Snake
Hill.
Mountain wasn't as cool as you may think.
No,
I had that thing twice.
Yeah, going back and looking at it now, like I remember Snake Mountain completely different. Oh yeah, Grayskull was awesome. Boulder Hill from Mask, Cat's Lair from Thundercats.
Even the Lion's Den from like Voltron was pretty cool.
Yep, Castle of Lions.
Macross one.
Yep.
Actually, one underappreciated playset that I think is kind of cool, and you can actually find this brand new in the box because they overproduced it, was the Command Center for GoBots. And I thought that thing looked cool. I looked one up on eBay a few months ago. Brand new in the box, minus shipping, was like $80.
That's because GoBots are the Kmart version of Transformers.
Although, you know what? Actually, have you seen the new GoBots that are coming out soon?
No.
They look like Transformers.
Oh my god, that Psykill and Leader 1, sign me up. That Psykill looks so fucking cool. Now, I hope they do Turbo and Crasher. Because Crasher was that female GoBot, Car, who was like Psycho Bitch. Or Chopper, who was that helicopter dude. I'm trying to think of other cool... Although, kids today, though, and I'm talking, let's say 95 forward, the Jurassic Park playset was pretty kick-ass. And they had awesome vehicles for the Jurassic Park stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if Hasbro, when they... Because I know they have the Jurassic Park license.
Mm-hmm.
And they release their stuff. It wouldn't surprise me if we get a re-release of the Visitor Center from the older... I think it was Kenner that put them out.
Right.
In the early 90s. And it wouldn't surprise me if we got a re-release of the classic Jurassic Park Land Cruiser, which goes for insane amounts of money. Like, I think the cheapest one I ever saw was $200.
Good lord.
And that's insane too. Like, as a kid, I always wanted that one, but I could never find it. I guess it was just really short packed. I remember for kids today, say 2005 forward, there was a playset for Star Wars. There was the Mustafar, or Battle of Mustafar, for Obi-Wan and Anakin. They had the Clone Turbo Tank, which is huge, but really sweet looking. I think they had... I want to say they had one for the MT-AT, which is the Mountain Terrain Attack Transport. I'm not sure. I remember a lot of the Star Wars playsets being really sweet. I mean, even the Death Star playset from the 70s I thought was really Although many parts on that thing tend to get broken very, very easily. But Star Wars has always had consistently cool playsets.
The nice part about living in Flint, Michigan area is we have these flea markets around. It's the city market, and it's basically an abandoned Big Lots that they bought out, and it's just a bunch of a lot of it's just like shit vendors, but there's this one
cool stuff.
Well, there's this one guy in the back, and half of his he has almost the entire ass end of the store, like the whole back wall pretty much, and he has wrestling toys and memorabilia on one half of it, and the other half is all freaking like toys that we grew up with, including some newer stuff, but it's a lot of like out of the box old stuff, and then some new stuff that's in the box, and some old stuff that's in the box. But I managed to find like a couple of Batmobiles in there that were not only the toy ones, but the Hot Wheels ones. One of which I used to own. It was die-cast from the 80s.
Keep an eye out, Steve, since you're into Batman things. You should find I want to say it was Toy Biz that did the Batman 1989 figures.
Uh-huh.
They did a play set that was Wayne Manor and the Batcave.
I used to have that as a kid.
I can't remember.
There were two.
I want to say this is true, but every time they've released the Bruce or the Wayne Manor Batcave, it's the exact same mold, just slightly recolored every single time.
It is recolored every time.
So yeah, you should be able to find that cheap. You should so get that, because that would look really sick, especially with your like bigger DC animated figures.
Yeah, I probably would if I found it. My brother had the kind of bluish colored one, like
that
the
one
steel
from
blue.
Returns, I think.
And I had the one that was the kind of goldish color on the outside.
Yeah.
Which, if I found that, I'd get it again. I did find a Captain Kirk from Generations in the spacesuit, which I owned as a kid. But when I played, that was my figure that I beat the shit out of every other character with. That was like my ultimate go-to. Like, everybody else sucks and lost, and then Spacesuit Kirk would come in and kick their ass. So I beat that figure to hell. I don't even know what happened to it, but this one's like mint condition out of the box. So I was like, I'll pick that up. And then I found a Transformers 30th anniversary Dinobot.
Nice.
New in the box. For like $12, and I picked it up. I was like, sweet. So I mean, I've found some pretty decent gems there. They do have like damn near every Power Ranger Megazord.
Oh my god.
Which has played hell on me, because the original one, I wanted that something terrible as a kid. And if I could justify the space, I would buy another one, or buy one. Now that I have some funds, but and then they have a bunch of Transformers in there, a lot of which I have, and then among other things that are in there. But yeah, they just have a ton of crap that I kind of every week I kind of go through there.
I will say this: kids today, despite having some lesser play sets, when they get re-releases of our older toys, like the Transformers Generations line. I saw a Generations Jetfire and a Generations RC and Chromia. My God, kids today have amazing sculpts for their toys compared to what we had in like 1980.
Well, I mean, look at the old like Ninja Turtles line from the 80s, and then compare them to the 30th anniversary classics line of TMNT.
Oh yeah,
just the detail in those. I mean. For Christ's sake, when they come out with the new Krang, which when are they supposed to come out with that?
It'll probably be during the summer.
Because when they come out with that, I'm getting it, because I have the original one. I have the original one, the giant robot body, which is busted all to hell, but I still have the original one that I had as a kid.
I sold mine this year, and that broke my heart, because that figure is so good.
It's so good, but it's so expensive and hard to find in good condition.
Yep, I paid $90 for mine.
Yeah, that's what I was afraid of. That's why I didn't want to splurge. Yep. That's why I'm waiting for the new one that comes out. It'll be $30, but it'll be fully detailed. So, but yeah, I mean, just the comparison between the two. I mean, you look at that or the Masterpiece Transformers to the originals. I mean, we do have nice collector lines nowadays that are like damn near spot on accurate, which are awesome if it weren't for the fact that, I mean, those that can buy them because they can afford them, and then others kind of sit there and drool at the screen because they're like, I wish I could get it, I can't get it.
Now, like, it's so crazy to look at how toys have evolved over the last 30 years. I mean, especially like we just mentioned with Transformers Generations, Masters of the Universe Classics, the TMNT Classics, even the G.I. Joe stuff that gets kind of a makeover every couple of years. Yeah. Like, man, it's unreal to see just how much the toy industry has changed. And I'm glad it is changing. I mean, it sucks I don't see as many kids covet these toys, but for us, yay fun.
Well, see, I think this is I think it's a mixed message Hasbro is sending to children now, because I'm not trying to insult anyone here when I say this, but I think Hasbro believes that children are stupid, because they now are introducing these one-step or three-step Transformers, where the one-step ones, you just flip it twice and it transforms. As a child of the 80s, Steve, I know you're going to teach your kids how to transform, or let them discover on their own how to transform the regular figures. And it's like, that was the whole point of us as a kid. They even said in the advertising, it's two toys that turn it. It's essentially two toys that turn into one or turn into the other, and it's a giant puzzle. And sometimes we sat there for hours figuring out how to transform Megatron.
I can't tell you how long it took me to figure out how to transform Optimal Optimus and Transmetal Tube Megatron.
Right.
To this day, I can do it, but like, even though I have not taken them out of robot mode in probably about 8 years, which means the plastic will probably snap when I take them apart. Because I had that happen with Transmetal Megatron. I tried taking him apart once, and his arm decided it didn't want to fold back in his gut. It just popped off. Never went back on. But I have, even the Masterpiece Prime that I got, the original one that came out for $60. Yeah. I wish I would have bought two of those at the time.
But what I'm saying is, though, it's like, you had fun as a kid figuring out for God knows how long how
it was infuriating.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, but I figured it out with or without instructions. I mean, it's like working on a puzzle.
Yeah,
which is something that I think that kids lack nowadays. Yeah, they have the technology, but they don't have a lot of time they don't have the imagination or the cognitive ability to sit there and figure something out, because it's too hard.
Unless it's on like a video game screen or something like that.
Well, that's what I mean. That to physically do something,
figuring out.
It goes back to the same conversation of not physically conversing with people, like with your mouth. So it's that kind of thing that it kind of brings that back to me. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to show my kids, and I'm not like those. Pardon my French here, but these shitty ass figures that Hasbro is trying to shove down our throat. The 2-inch tall Transformers that sit on the dinosaur and don't transform, or the 12-inch tall Optimus and Bumblebees that don't transform.
Are they at least super articulated?
No, they're just fucking garbage.
Fuck that then. Unless they're super articulated, fuck that.
Well, I don't care. They're not Transformers unless they transform. And to me, I'm not going to spend the money to buy my kid a toy that doesn't do what it's supposed to do. If I want a freaking action figure, I'll go buy him an Avenger or a DC figure. Something that isn't meant to transform. It's meant to, bend at the arms and the legs and just beat the shit out of each other. I for a Transformer, that defeats the purpose. That's why Action Masters died out. And they wonder why there's Shellformers now, and it's like, look at the 80s. My son's got some of the Robot Hero ones, which even those don't transform, but being his age, they are at least articulated. Mm-hmm. So I don't have a problem in spending the $3 to buy them for him, and he enjoys them. But like at my mom's, he has the Rescue Bots, which are the fold up ones, but even then she's got some of the more complicated ones, and they're figuring it out. And he's 2.5, and my nephew's 3.5 or 4. So I don't know. I think that some of the stuff is too spread out as far as those toys. Not that they aren't decent to some degree, but I think that, I don't know, some of those toys are just garbage and shouldn't be sold.
Mm-hmm.
One line that's always remained, I felt, fairly consistent over the years, and I think it's because they have got a really good person in charge of the line, is Star Wars stuff. I mean, it's hard to find a bad Star Wars figure, and what I mean by that is the sculpts, almost all of them are really good. The vehicles are amazing, although some of them are molds you've seen for like 10 years, but they're really good molds, like, of vehicles. Like, I think one of my favorites was the Clone Wars gunship. And that's still awesome. Although, it was weird, though. When you got the Revenge of the Sith one, you didn't get the Clone Gunner's bubbles that would sit on the side of the gunship. You had to buy those separately, which is kind of a pain in the ass, because you only got those with Attack the Clones Ice. But yeah, like, I don't know. Kids today, they got it good and bad, I guess.
Star Wars has been consistently good, except when Hasbro decides to match them with other things. Like, I remember that whole Star Wars Transformers.
Okay, some of those were really cool. I had almost all of those.
I'm sorry, the Millennium Falcon one was horrid.
You know what? I had that one, but I never took it out of the box, so I don't know.
It was horrid.
Speaking of kids today getting screwed, and this kind of calls back to the 2DS thing and the 3DS, because I'm seeing like multiple complaints about this anyway. I think it's kind of like, I'm going to be honest, because the whole 2DS thing is completely new to my mind. Like, I'm still assimilating what it does and doesn't do, because I came from the era of the Game Boy Advance, and not the SP, not the the fold-up one that they had. No, I'm talking the actual Game Boy Advance, the very first one. And to go from that to a 2DS, it's fucking mind-blowing. I didn't realize that it doesn't come with a way to charge. Like, you couldn't take batteries out. Like, I was expecting there to be a battery slot, even if it was like AAA or something. But and then I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, there's really no way to charge it without a special cable.
Yeah, it's because they want you to have this proprietary battery, which
I can get that. Don't get me wrong, because it does last a long time. I haven't had to charge it, but since I got the cord. But the thing is I think it's kind of bullshit that you get a special cord. You can't use like a universal USB, like the mini USB, like you'd use for a cell phone. Yeah, although you can do that with actually no, I was going to say you can't even do that with the Vita. Yeah, you're right. You have to get the proprietary thing, and they're making it actually increasingly difficult to try and actually get a legitimate cord. Yeah, it's kind of a pain in the ass. I mean, you know what? It's just like cell phones for a long time, especially Apple was bad for this. Because you had to have the specialty cord for the iPhone. Well, and when you went from iPhone 4 to iPhone 5, it was a different cord. I had to get my hands on one of the Energizer ones. It's the 3-in-1 car plug and USB cable. And it's got the plug on it for, it covers like the 3DS, 2DS, DSi, DS, whatever. all the different ones under one flag, but it just kind of boggles my mind that for one they don't come with the cord.
Well,
when there's no alternative way to charge them unless you have the damn cord.
I think with the 2DS I gave you, I think I just needed the extra cable.
Well, no, I'm not busting your chops. I'm just saying, like, because they're saying the 3DS XL does not come with one.
Yeah, with the new
which
3DS
I think is
XL,
kind of horseshit. That's what I was more so getting at. I wasn't knocking you. I'm happy for the gift. That was.
Of course.
But I was just knocking the fact that Nintendo's not bundling the new one with the cord. It's almost like when you buy a printer, you got to buy your own USB.
Yeah, I always found that kind of funny, which is why I'm not so mad at Nintendo. Now, full disclosure, Nintendo did send me a review unit, but I already had the cables anyway. I see it as, you know what, it's no different than buying batteries for something. At least it's going to last you a long-ass time. And I can see it as a cost-cutting measure, because look at it this way. Let's say you already have one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you pay an extra $10-$20 when you don't need to?
Well, I think what they could do as an option is have like a bundled edition, but you get a discount if you don't need the cord.
I think that may just come down to retail packaging.
Yeah.
So I can see Nintendo's point. I can see the consumer's point too.
There's the benefit either way. It's just picking your stance more so.
Yeah.
I just thought it was kind of funny, but
I kind of hope Nintendo doesn't miss the window of opportunity with the new 3DS XL, because they need more games that'll take advantage of the hardware as soon as possible if they really want to push it. Because I know with the new C stick on it, any games that use the old Circle Pad Pro just have it built in now, which is really cool for games like Monster Hunter and Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask and whatnot. But I know the only game that's taking advantage of the new stuff under the hood, Blade Chronicles, which I don't think has an official release date yet. So I hope Nintendo for E3 announces, oh, by the way, in September we're releasing, I don't know, a new Metroid for the 3DS. I don't know, or anything like that, but I hope they don't let this kind of drop in the water like they did with the Nintendo DSi, which was it's a Nintendo DS with a camera. Because that was the one hardware alliteration that made no sense to me. It didn't offer anything different, and there were only a few games that took advantage of the new hardware. Yeah. One was called Photo Dojo, and that's about it. Yeah, I think there's only 5 games that took advantage of the camera. Nobody else did. And I'm hoping that Nintendo, now that they can open up more stuff to the developers, take advantage of it. Because if it's true, and it looks like the 3DS XL can run Wii games, more or less, you have got a whole new possibility of really cool shit that could be ported to this console.
Speaking of Nintendo, what do you guys think of the Netflix working on a Legend of Zelda live-action series?
I think that could be really awesome if they get someone who knows how to handle it right.
Mm-hmm.
According to the article, the second Link opens his mouth, though. That's what's going to piss people off.
According to the article Steve has here from MoviePilot.com, Nintendo is said to be on board and writers are being sought. There isn't any more details or much information, but the fact that this is in a very, very, very early processes of development has the writer pumped here. It could be really interesting. I mean, Netflix puts out some really cool original programming, but I'm just wondering, you got to look at it this way. This is the first time in a long time that a Nintendo property has had anything on television or film. I mean, let's face it, Nintendo will get scared if this doesn't do well. I mean,
I can counter argue on that one. Nintendo's always had Pokemon in some capacity.
okay, well, yeah, but
you're talking live action
I'm
adaptation.
talking live action adaptation. The last Nintendo game that I can remember was over 20 years ago in Super Mario Brothers, and no one except for probably me actually likes that movie.
I like the visual design of it. I think it looks like a really fucked up Blade Runner. But yeah,
you know, and even in their, and when I say Nintendo gets scared, I'm not talking about their. I mean, Pokemon. You know, that's their license to print money when it comes to that stuff. I'm talking about their core games, their core franchises. There hasn't been a Mario cartoon since Super Mario World ended in 1991 or 2. And
I think there's been a few in Japan, but I'm not sure.
Well, here in North America, there hasn't been one since 20 25 years ago at this point.
There was a Donkey Kong animated, I think, in 96, 97.
Yep, it was 3D CGI.
Yeah, Donkey Kong Country, but again,
I'm actually surprised they've never tried to adapt Metroid. Like,
I think that'd be
imagine that
pretty
as like a
kick-ass.
3G, as like, do you guys remember the cartoon Starship Troopers? That was like that 3D animated thing.
mm-hmm.
Metroid with that. You know how fucking awesome that would have been. No way. I'm about to say that's not a Nintendo property. Never mind.
No. Yeah, the closest thing they came to Metroid was having the World and Mother Brain and Captain and the Game Master.
Yeah.
That's the closest we've ever come.
It would be really neat. I mean, if The Legend of Zelda is successful in live action, if they do it more as a standard swords and sorcery and don't try and go for the whole Game of Thrones crowd, because they want this to be more family friendly, from what I can tell.
Yeah.
If they take it seriously, it could be really awesome, because it's not like they don't have money. And if Nintendo believes in it, they'll give them money. But
True.
I'd like to see them maybe take on something a little less risky. Like, give us a 5-episode Metroid miniseries done with really high-end CG graphics. Get Jennifer Hale, the voice of Commander Shepard. I think she did the voice of Samus, or am I thinking of someone else? In some of the other games. Get the woman who did Metroid Prime. I can't think of her name right now. I want to say it's Jennifer Hale, but I'm probably wrong. To go out and do it. Or I'm trying to think of other, or you know what? Take some of their Fire Emblem stuff, which is really successful over in Japan. It's getting pretty popular over here too. Give me an animated series, or hell, do you know how cool it could be if you took the world of Nintendo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Turn Smash Brothers into a cartoon, a legit cartoon.
I was thinking that too.
Like, think of how awesome that would be. And get, like, all the voice actors. Like, here, come on in for, like, a couple weeks. Let's record all your dialogue. And the writers can have adventures set in the Smash worlds. And have Master Hand as the bad guy. Basically take the storyline out of Subspace Emissary from Brawl and just have, like, a new bad guy for the show. Like, seriously, that, like, my God, do you know how many people would tune into... Imagine the toy licensing possibilities. Like, shit, man. Nintendo, jump on this crap. Fuck Zelda, give me Smash Brothers.
You could do it all at once.
Exactly. This way you have everybody, then you see who's popular and who's not.
And then they could include Sonic and...
Yeah, I mean, and think about all the third parties that would line up to have their characters in this. Like, seriously, man, that'd be so cool. But I really hope it's successful for Netflix. And since it's in the super early development, I'm guessing we'll see this in like 4 or 5 years. I don't see this.
I don't know. It didn't take them too long to put out Daredevil. They're putting out Daredevil in April.
I guess that's true, yeah, but we know Marvel hasn't had a stumble yet.
True.
Actually, somebody brought this up to me this past week, and I kind of agree with it. You realize the whole comic book movie thing is only one colossal failure away from the bubble bursting? Really?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, we just gotta wait for somebody to not give a shit anymore.
Yeah, I mean, just imagine what's going to happen when the MCU has its first bomb. And now that, obviously, they've got Spider-Man, that's a little less likely. But I still think they're banking a lot on some of the unknown properties, like Inhumans for...
And it's going to be one of those that bombs it, honestly.
But then again, we all thought that about Guardians.
True.
How that turned out. So,
but I think that the only reason that didn't bomb is because...
strong casting and strong writing?
Well, not only that, but the fact we haven't seen a damn thing about it before.
Yeah, that's true. With Inhumans, they
everything
are
else,
setting it up.
We don't have a freaking clue with a lot of those other ones. Whereas, you get to the Avengers, everybody's like, yeah, I know who they are. You get to Spider-Man, usually you're like, yeah, I know who they are. And then, so you have this built-up expectation ahead of time, so...
Yeah, I'm hoping, obviously, the bubble doesn't burst for MCU, because I really want to see what a Captain Marvel movie is going to look like. Although, weird rumor I heard this week, they want Angelina Jolie to direct it. Which, I don't know what she's done, so I can't trust her abilities. I'm just trying to think...
As long as she's not acting in it, I'm fine.
Yeah, because...
I don't think they'll let her near it, because every film she's been in, she was in Maleficent, which wasn't really that bad, but it's just, still, it's Angelina Jolie.
She virtually plays the same person in every movie.
Yeah, she just wears a different costume. It's like watching Nicolas Cage
or
Tom Cruise.
She's only directed 5 things. She directed a documentary in 2007 called A Place in Time. She directed In the Land of Blood and Honey in 2011. Last year was Unbroken. And she's currently in post-production for By the Sea for this year. And she's been announced for Africa for next year. This is as a director. I don't know who I'd
want to direct this, though. Because they want a really strong female to direct it. And there was the woman who did The Hurt Locker.
Mm-hmm.
But then she went home to do Twilight, so I don't know. Then again, you can only work so much magic with what you're given, so...
That is true.
I don't know who I'd want to honestly see do it.
So let me ask you guys, with the Spider-Man news, are there anyone, other than what they've rumored, is there, who would you want, since it's not going to be Garfield anymore, who would you want as the Marvel Peter Parker Spider-Man?
I'd like to see them do a take on Miles Morales. I think Donald Glover, I think he's just a little too old for it now.
Yeah, I've seen that name popping up a lot, and I'm thinking, you got to get somebody that's the right age to be able to sit there and play this role for, believably and for the next, 10 years,
I mean, if they'd asked Donald Glover 5 years ago, it might have been great. But I think that'd be cool, but I think it would confuse a lot of mainstream audiences. So, I think they're going to have to go with an unknown.
Which might be beneficial.
Yeah. And just, don't retell the same origin story. Give us 5 minutes of flashbacks. There you go. And just don't misuse him. And I wonder what's going to happen with the Sony stuff, because they are still moving forward with Sinister Six, whatnot. So...
Does anybody really care anymore?
See, I'd rather see them adapt Venom and Carnage, give Venom his own movie. See, that's a bad guy I give a shit about. Do I give a shit about Electro and Doc Ock and the Vulture? No. Get good Venom and Carnage. Although now that the Spider-Man universe and Marvel now play nicey nice together, you could potentially see shit in Guardians that references the
symbionts.
Yeah, think how cool that would be. I mean, get Agent Venom in a random cameo or something. I don't know. There's so much more possibilities now for MCU for including awesome bad guys. But I don't know. interesting to see how it all pans out, because Spider-Man, for all intents and purposes, is a street-level hero, like Daredevil and all that. Like, he's a guy who's not going to take on the fucking Red Skull or Doctor Doom on a regular basis. He's going to beat the shit out of the King.
He's going to play assist. He's not going to be the lead.
Exactly. He's not going to be, your main guy. So I like the possibilities to what it opens, but it's a trump card you can't play often. You got to use it right. And this next Spider-Man movie that comes out in 2017 has to do a lot to wash the taste out of our mouths of the last two. Because honestly, I liked Amazing Spider-Man 1. 2 had moments, but on the whole, it sucked.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. I just...
Emma Stone was the best part of that movie.
She was the only reason that movie was watchable.
Like,
honestly.
Jamie Foxx was a terrible choice to play Electro.
I don't know if it was a terrible choice. I think the way that they were interpreting the character.
Yeah, maybe that's what
for the film, I think was just stupid. I don't think that it was him. I think, as you mentioned before, it's what they're given to work with, and if they're given shit, that's what's going to come out.
Yeah, that's true. And
it's like watching the Green Lantern movie, which I throw in there for Blanchard's amusement.
You know what?
Ryan Reynolds did a shitty job.
It's what he's given.
Yeah, he did a shitty job because the movie was shitty.
Although, he's
going to be great in Daredevil, though. Or not Daredevil, Deadpool.
Oh, yeah. Especially today, he teased the prototype of the mask. That's pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. I think, Deadpool comes out, next year or something?
Yeah.
Wow. Yep. So they better get fucking cracking.
I'm freaking geeked for that. I heard that it's got a low budget, too, so...
Actually, I had this thought the other day, because they're talking about developing an X-Men series for TV. We talked about this last week, I think. And you guys, Blanchard, you follow wrestling still, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you know who Naomi is?
Yeah.
I don't think she'd make a bad Storm in the 80s style. I was thinking about that the other day, because she's got the physicality if she wants to pull it off.
Yeah, she does, but I'm not sure if WWE would go for that.
I don't know. Considering how well Batista went over as Drax, it would bring a lot of positive influence to their kind of Divas division. Just a thought. I was just kind of thinking about that the other day, because she wore this outfit on NXT or some bullshit. I was watching it. I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, you look like Storm out of the 80s. You just need the mohawk.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. That's what I think that WWE will not go for is I mean, unless she's going to wear a bald cap, I don't think they're going to go for her having a mohawk.
But still, it would be cool, and I'd love to see her get more mainstream opportunities, because almost every other diva sucks. Or at least in terms of how they fight. At least Naomi, I believe, is, legit. My wife is thrusting at me. I'm trying to think of more to really kind of talk about the whole superhero thing. I know Bryan Singer is kind of teasing some locations for Apocalypse this week.
Well, I also heard that they may have Professor X and Wolverine team up in a movie.
That makes sense to me. Although, what's the next big Wolverine story to be told? Maybe Wolverine, but even then, that's an alternate future.
It's well, like I have it in the notes. I think they're saying Wolverine 3 could team up, Patrick Stewart with Wolverine, and I'm kind of trying to wonder how. They're saying that it would be a different type of X-Men movie, but I don't think that they have any clue what they're trying to tell.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think what stories, like what big ones are left to tell. Then again, I don't know Wolverine's history all that well, so someone's probably yelling at the screen right now.
Well, history means squat as far as the movies are concerned, only because they don't follow the original thing anyway in the X-Men universe.
If Jackman is only contracted for 1 or 2 more movies, and I know Steve hates this, and I hate this too when they split movies up into part 1 and part 2, but they could do a 2-part version of the Death of Wolverine storyline that just happened, and actually because Jackman is, I don't know,
Getting older.
That's not a bad idea, actually.
Give him a nice send-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be really freaking cool, actually. Or, as a villain, set him up to fight Omega Red and tie that into it. Maybe give him like a bunch of guys that are obviously... Actually, you know what? Yeah, if you adapted the Death of Wolverine, that could be really sweet. That could be really freaking sick if handled right.
And then, although I know this will never happen, because there's no way in hell all 3 companies will decide to work together, but you could then have, because Wolverine is dead, you could have Spider-Man and the X-Men.
I would love to see all the studios play nice, and I wonder if Fox will think about it if they see the MCU Sony deal going well.
Yeah.
I mean, even if it costs them a boatload of money, it's going to make everybody more money in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no reason for them not to do it. And I know
especially when it's Marvel's property to begin with.
Yeah,
Whoever may own the film rights or not, they're still Marvel's.
Well, and as far as I know, Marvel's being kind of childish by downplaying mutants and the Fantastic Four right now in their books, which is, I think, kind of stupid.
Well, I think they're doing it to choke out the other companies to try and get their shit back.
Well, yeah, and
but I honestly think it's because I don't think it's Marvel. I think it's Disney. I mean, I know they're the same thing, but it's still, none of this shit happened until Disney took over.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I wish everyone could just come together, have a couple of drinks, and come to some kind of an agreement. Because ultimately, they're doing it for us and their pocketbooks. But if they make us happy, they get richer. So why would you not?
Watch, what you're going to see happen is Fantastic Four and X-Men and all those are going to end up getting sent over to DC.
That'd be hilarious. Although, you know what? I will say I'm somewhat optimistic for the new Fantastic Four. Somewhat. I don't know. It looks different than anything I would have expected at.
I'll give it a chance.
It's definitely got my money. I just hope it don't suck.
I don't care either way, because it's not one that I'm actually going to go see in the theater, but it's...
Yeah, I'm more interested in the Fantastic Four's villains than I am the team itself. Like Galactus, Annihilus, honestly, even the Mole Man. Stuff like that.
I don't remember the trailer too much because I just kind of...
It wasn't bad. Well, it was actually quite entertaining.
It
was like Interstellar meets the Fantastic Four.
Did they actually show Galactus, or was it just a giant cloud again?
No, they showed this pillar of light.
Which is supposed to be how they got their powers.
Yeah, it's something... My guess is the villain will be Annihilus or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess, because it looks like this movie takes place in the negative zone. Or parts of it, anyway.
I don't know. I don't care what anyone says. I still enjoy the original 2 films. Only because...
I like the cast, but I don't like the storylines.
Yeah,
that's my point. You know, once Michael Chiklis became Ben Grimm and Chris Evans became Johnny Storm, that was it. Those 2 characters bouncing off of each other was amazing as far as the comedy aspect of those characters. They hit the nail on the head.
I just had this thought. Okay, J.K. Simmons is to J. Jonah Jameson as Michael Chiklis is to The Thing.
Yep.
You should bring back The Thing in the new Fantastic. Obviously, it's already been shot and it's in the can.
Yeah.
But to me, that's always going to be the thing, is Michael Chiklis. Everybody else, completely replaceable. But the chemistry between Chris Evans and Michael Chiklis was pretty priceless, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chris Evans is Captain America now.
Well, yeah.
And he's a much better Cap than he was a Human Torch.
Exactly.
Oh, you guys... you guys haven't... Well, Steve, you saw it this week, didn't you?
Saw what?
Flash.
Yeah, I watched that.
Right after they made this comment, I'm like, uh-oh, Marvel's going to sue DC because they used the Flame On line. And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they pulled that off. Oh.
Yeah, Marvel can't sue him.
No, I know.
It'd have to be...
Have you guys been watching Agent Carter?
Yeah, kinda.
What do you think of it?
I like it better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm sad that it's only...
paced better.
Yeah, and because it's focused on one central character and everything that happens around her, not an entire team of nobodies.
Except for Phil. That's the only one you give a shit about.
Mike doesn't recognize him because he died in Avengers, so he thinks that he doesn't exist.
It boggles. I understand people. Listeners, I understand. People come back to life in comics all the time, with the exception of the Waynes and Uncle Ben, unless you're in an alternate universe. But I just feel with them bringing Coulson back, it takes away the emotional impact it had of killing him in the Avengers.
Maybe they'll address that in Age of Ultron. Or maybe they'll turn on Nick Fury, saying, "Oh, you motherfuckers."
Mm-hmm. Maybe. I don't know. But no, Agent Carter, I'm liking it. I find it really hard to believe that Jarvis was once an actual person, but I like how he is being portrayed on the show.
Yeah, honestly, the chemistry in that show is great. I mean, I like everybody who's in that show. Even Chad Michael Murray, I think he's really kind of grown up a fair bit since his One Tree Hill days.
Oh, absolutely. The coolest thing for me in the beginning of Agent Carter was the whole voice box men. I thought that was amazing effects.
One of the things I like about this show, and it's subtle, is I like the music in it.
Mm-hmm.
It suits it suits everywhere. Like if anything, Marvel nails atmosphere right.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you know you're watching a Marvel product when you're watching something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. on its worst night, you know it's in the MCU.
Yep.
That's something very few shows, I think, ever accomplish when they're part of a franchise. I'd say Flash and Arrow, they're pretty consistent, too.
Mm-hmm.
Not as consistent. I would say Gotham is not as consistent. Like, you believe it could happen in Batman, because, honestly, you take a few words out here and there, you would never know.
There's not a lot to Gotham when it comes to music. Flash and Arrow, I believe both series are composed by Blake Neely. I had written reviews for both Season 1 and Season 2 soundtracks of Arrow. I cannot wait until we get a release for Flash for a soundtrack to see what the music sounds like outside of the show. But it really, really works. I'm trying to see here who is on the... it's Christopher Lennon's on Agent Carter for Leonard's for composing on the music for that one.
What is S.H.I.E.L.D.?
What is S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Yeah, because S.H.I.E.L.D. does have some really good stings every now and again. Like, they've got some really good sound design on that show.
Depending on what part of the show it's in.
Yeah.
Yeah. S.H.I.E.L.D. has some good music. I'll say that for it, because it's Bear McCreary, of all people, for composing.
And his stuff, you know it's him.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
Like, I love all his stuff on The Walking Dead. I love the Battlestar Galactica stuff he did.
Mm-hmm. The guy that's on Agent Carter, Christopher Lennertz, he's done Dr. Dolittle 3. I don't know why, but Sharkbait, The Comebacks, The Perfect Holiday, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Meet the Spartans.
So he's moving on up in the world.
Since okay, in the last 5 years, he's done Horrible Bosses 2, Think Like a Man 2, Ride Along. Um, let's see, Identity Thief, Gimme Shelter. The first Horrible Bosses. I mean, he's done some pretty cool and interesting stuff, but it's no Bear McCreary.
Yeah. I mean, this guy is doing stuff to keep the lights on. At least Bear, he can pick and choose his projects whenever the hell he feels like it.
And I really have a problem with the television shows of today as far as the intros. Unless it's a and sometimes even the comedies do this, but like shows like Agent Carter, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Flash, Arrow, they would rather have, well, Flash and Arrow specifically, they have a voiceover and some music behind it. Don't get me wrong.
That's just the way stuff is now, is how
And I understand that, but I just wish that if you're going to open a show, like say Flash is going to open with not necessarily a previously on, but like, here's a prologue of something that happened now, and then you open the show, 24 hours before that, or something like that. I just wish there was an actual, theme that we could hear without a voiceover in the show first.
Or you could do like what Supernatural did and completely just do away with it. They just got that quick 5-second like electroshock lightning, beginning, and then it's to the episode.
I guess they're trying to cram more story into as much time as they can. Like, for example, like I kind of think of Smallville had that 1.5-minute intro thing, and that's 1.5 minutes you could do more with.
Yeah. I will say that for all the lack of music that's in Gotham, they play the beginning scene of each episode. They transition it well from when that scene ends to when the little 3 seconds of Gotham music comes up when the title thing comes up. They do that really well. But again, it's only like a 3-second beat.
There's a guy, I know he does video game music, and I know he's done movies too. You should check him out. I'm pretty sure you've talked about him before, Blaine. His name's Tyler Bates. Pretty kick-ass. The main reason I know him is because he did the music for Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. I think he's done some pretty big Hollywood stuff in the last couple years. I just thought I'd randomly toss that out there if we're talking about composers and shit.
I can't wait to hear what Brian Tyler has for Ultron. I cannot wait for that soundtrack.
That's going to be pretty legit.
Your Tyler Bates guy has done stuff like Half Past Dead in 2002, Dawn of the Dead, You Got Served, See No Evil 300, Halloween from 2007, Watchmen, Halloween 2, movie 43. Why?
You know what? Parts of that movie are really funny, but the rest of it is just utterly stupid.
Apparently he did the composing on Guardians.
Yeah, that's where I recognized him again from recently, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing, too. Guardians 2, I'm really looking forward to seeing what a licensed soundtrack comes out of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Licensed soundtrack for Guardians is in our car constantly playing. Because that's how, that soundtrack is phenomenal.
Oh, wow, this guy did War for Cybertron soundtrack. Huh, interesting.
Getting into the last part of the show, since that's gone on a bit.
Yep, since we're on, tangent number 15 now.
Yeah, last week we had to answer some questions about what are some public comics, non-mainstream comics, that's what it was. Are people reading? Dan, Movie Revolt, said some of his favorites are East of West, Deadly Class, and Southern Bastards. Some of his other ones are Saga, great book, Suicide Risk, Irredeemable, and then had the superhero kind of pitting against each other kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had the Superman, what would happen if Superman went evil and Lex Luthor was the only person who could stop him. Fraser says, I like a lot of Valiant comic stuff like Quantum and Woody, Exo, Man of War, and the Valiant. Brian says one of his favorite Dark Horse books is Mind Management. Brad says the best comic right now, hands down, that also is not from DC or Marvel, is Saga, which seems to be a pretty popular one, so much so that it was in the GCRN Awards. Mm-hmm. I can't recall for the life of me which one won, so even then, I still can be unbiased. You said, Mike, that you have yet to see Saga, but you're burnt out on Snyder.
Yeah,
which seems to be the one that everybody's like all like happy with. Although everybody says, well, I could see that. Other than
I don't think Saga is doing. I don't think Snyder is on Saga. Snyder's on Witches. That's what it is. Yeah.
Well, he's doing Witches and the American Vampire stuff.
I think I said in the comments that I would like to check out Saga at some point, but that's when I said, as far as Snyder goes, I just don't know.
Yeah, I was done after. That's why I quit reading comics, actually.
He pretty much, for me personally, Scott Snyder peaked at the end of Court of Owls, because Death of the Family was anticlimactic. 0 Year is the worst Batman origin ever told. And because, and I know people are sick of me saying this, Batman Eternal has to end before I can read issues 35 to 40 of the actual Batman title, because it takes place after the weekly ends. Other ones I listed that are not DC or Marvel, Cowl from Image, Sex Criminals from Image, the IDW TMNT stuff, stuff like that. And like I said at the beginning of the show, I'm finally getting into Marvel, and it's all because of Star Wars.
So, yeah. So, no comments other than those. I have a cool question that I think will bring something new. What video game or games would you like to see come to animation or live-action TV, which we kind of brought up earlier with the whole Legend of Zelda and, our possibilities of what we thought would be kind of cool. Because, there's like a million video games out there, so...
you can answer this now?
We don't necessarily have to, but we can if we want to.
Mass Effect, without a doubt, Mass Effect. If you could somehow translate that into a movie or a really good live-action series, fuck yeah.
I would say skip the movie route, because there's so much influx of, like, either...
characters or whatnot.
Well, I mean, just... There's already so much geek stuff in film that I think it's just kind of overkill. I think, it's kind of like how well Agent Carter and Flash and Arrow and those kind of shows are doing on TV, whereas if they were on film, I don't think it would keep as much buzz.
Oh, okay. I've got something for you. It's not necessarily a video game, but it's a game. I'd like to see them, because the success of Game of Thrones, I'd like to see someone take a serious stab at doing Dungeons and Dragons. Pick a setting like Forgotten Realms or Ravenloft or whatever, and really flesh it out. Like, maybe adapt the Dragonlance novels or something. Go back to the beginning and show me the War of the Lands or something like that. Or alternatively, they tried this kind of in the 90s. There was a series called Kindred the Embraced, which was about Vampire the Masquerade. And considering how hot vampires and supernatural shit is still these days, give me the World of Darkness. Give me Werewolf the Apocalypse. Give me Hunter the Reckoning. Mage the Ascension. Basically, bring together all the World of Darkness characters. Give me a cool TV show out of that. Or Call of Cthulhu. I'd love to see that done right, because Lovecraftian horror is so hard to do. And if you gave it to the right cable network, it could get away with the really disturbing shit. Have something really friggin' awesome on your hands there. So my choices would be Mass Effect, Dungeons and Dragons, and World of Darkness.
For me, honestly, I'd like to see a 13 or 15 episode season of them adapting one episode per game, adapting the Need for Speed franchise. So basically, each episode would be an adaptation of whatever game. So let's say we start with...
Those games have storylines? I'm not saying that to be insulting. I'm genuinely surprised.
Yeah. Okay, so you can start with, let's say, the 2005 Most Wanted. That had, a general storyline. It had characters. It had voice actors. It had all that stuff. I don't know. I just think that would be kind of cool to see a different type of if you're going to create a show about race cars or speedsters or doing that kind of thing, why instead
That's
of
not a
making
bad idea, actually.
Instead of making, don't get me wrong, I love the franchise. Instead of making 9 more Fast and the Furious movies, why not go to Need for Speed? If you think about it, Mike, you look at Need for Speed, like they had, what was it? Underground. They had Underground, then they had, was it Pro Street, then they had Underground 2. So each episode would be an adaptation of each one of those games, and it would only be without commercials, 42-minute episode, with commercials, an hour-long thing. And it would be an adaptation of each game, and I think it would be pretty cool.
You just gave me a wicked idea. A long-running series, actually. Do Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
And you could do it like Breaking Bad. It just has to be a crime story. Crazy shit happening.
Yeah,
I mean,
can almost see that happening.
Think about how close Breaking Bad is to a Grand Theft Auto game. Think about that. Walter White is in essence a playable character.
Well, he'd just be the announcer on the radio.
Yeah, that's all he's...
Especially if you could get like Laszlo to like guest voice on the radio, that'd be so cool. And if you could bring in past characters from past games, like if you could get Ray Liotta for an episode, hey, Tommy Vercetti, something like that, or Nico Bellic shows up.
Yep, that would be awesome.
Oh my fucking god, that would be such a cool series. Set it in Liberty City, and just have it be like an anthology series, and eventually it picks a character and follows them through it.
Mm-hmm. That would be pretty cool.
Fucking AMC, jump on this shit. It would have the coolest licensed soundtrack of all time, because people would be jumping on each other's dicks to get on the soundtrack for this show. Because every Grand Theft Auto game, 9 times out of 10, has an amazing soundtrack. Once again, licensed to print money. If you can make Grand Theft Auto on TV, not be stupid. Honestly, I just want to see Trevor Phillips on screen. I love Grand Theft Auto 5. I think I'm going to play that after this episode. Actually, that's how pumped I am.
So, I think that's it.
Yeah, pretty much. I was going to talk about horror movies because it's Friday the 13th today, but maybe I'll do that next week.
Yeah, we could do that. So, anything else that you guys would like to pimp out before we close out?
I'm recording a new movie Madness with Dave and Roebuck this weekend. Oddly enough, talking about the Friday the 13th movies. I think we're recording new Beyond the Gauntlets this weekend too. Not quite sure what we're talking about just yet, because it's all going to depend on weather this week. So we'll see, because we're in the middle of a wicked cold snap right now. So
are we.
Oh, brutal, man. It's weird. It's like an Arctic low from Siberia. So just fuck.
Send it back.
Yeah, it's like, go home. Don't want you. No comprende Russian or whatever. Yeah, I'm good.
So, speaking of horror, kind of a dig that I saw in there. They hired the Saw writers to recalibrate Halloween, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean.
See, now supposedly they want to go back to the traditional slasher type instead of something batshit insane as the Rob Zombie take on it. I don't know, man. I think that's a franchise that needs to go to sleep for like 10 years. I'd rather have a sequel to the 2009 Friday the 13th and have it done right, as opposed to have a new Halloween. I don't give a shit about Michael Myers. I give a bigger shit about Jason Voorhees. Or somehow find a way to make Nightmare on Elm Street 2 not suck. Although, if they're going to remake Nightmare 2, I fully expect the same amount of homoeroticism as I got in the original. 2015. Ball gags, people. Ball gags.
Alrighty. So with those balls in your mouth, we'll close out the show.
So
bad segue. But so you can email us feedback at geekcastradio.com. You can, of course, comment as always on the episode post. You can contact us on Twitter at GeekCastRadio, #AlteredGeek. My Twitter handle is at SCP21. Yours are, sirs.
TF2 and Mike.
At Birdman Dodd on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
All over the interweb.
Exactly.
So, as always, get altered, get geeky with the Altered Geeks. See you next week.
Watch out for the ball gag.